Hey there, I'm Evan here. Um, Whenever I started making music, um, about 9 or 10 years ago now, um, and especially by the time I started my hiatus, about 5 or just over 4.5 years ago, August 21st, 2020. But technically, y'all were hearing about it by December 31st, 2020. Um, in these years of me, in these years of my being on hiatus, um, excuse me, excuse me. In these years of me being on hiatus, I learned something that the main reason as to why I stopped letting people in on my the artistry was actually because felt as though my I felt as though the quality of my artistry, comparing it to people who had far more resources and experiences and a better mindset about things, and more specialized and more specialized experiences about like music creation than I did. Um, I didn't yet know to not compare myself to those people, which again was part of a whole experiment of like, hey, um, like like I've, I've made 10 projects over the course of like between 2016 and 2020. I dropped 10 different projects, like three EPs, three mixtapes, three albums, and then 1/4 of a compilation album, like called the Uda tapes. And and the interesting thing about that is that over the course of those 10 projects, 116 songs in total, I was basically consciously teaching myself, hey, um, like what would it be like if you were making all these songs as an artist who was signed to a major label? Like, would you be able to keep up with that workload? Would you be able to actually like create projects and turn them around in time for a set release date that you set in the future for yourself? And so all of it was self-imposed. But that being said, I did it for a reason. Um, that being said, when I was in it back then, I wasn't entirely sure if the reason was is actually controlling my narrative, or whether I was more in control of my narrative than that reason was. And the answer to both, or and the answer to that question was that over time it was a little bit of both, but by the end of it, I felt as though it was controlling me a lot more than the other way around. It was dictating my actions, other than it was dictating my actions a lot more than a guide would. It was being less of a guide and more of a slave owner. um, that's how you know I'm black. Anyways, um, African American, like a person with more melanin in their skin. Either way, um, yeah. So this is the short version of basically a video of me explaining a bunch of this different stuff. So basically, this other video that I had, it was just me explaining, and some people might say pontificating on all this different stuff as it pertains to music and all these different things. But basically, I realized that that over the past 4 years, I've been in this space where it's like, oh, like my music isn't good enough to share with other people because the quality is not there, because I didn't learn the same sort of thing. And the thing is that even in the last songs of my last two full lengths, my third mixtape Gaba Defaya and my third album How I Came to Be, in both of the last tracks on those projects, um, I was alluding to the idea that I would basically be gone for a while, and that basically I would come back, like quality wise, giving y'all a full fledged ship instead of a raft. And sure, a large part of that was just different people who didn't know how to like make a proper, like, a beneficial estimation of me, like getting into my head, and or in a time when I um like, had yet to learn to make it so their word on my life came second to my own, like, word about my life. um and so basically, thank you, Margaret. um and so basically what all this equates to, her, it can kind of equate to anything. Like, everything that I do is open to interpretation. Honestly, everything that I do slash share with other people, it's open to interpretation. Um, I, it's like, such as the act of being an artist as opposed to doing artistry. Make your entire life a work of art. Shout out Lana Del Rey. Minus the whole minus the whole toxic undertones that were kind of there, that not only Lizzie herself experienced, but also just stuff that a lot of people, and not just women actually, myself included, just different stuff that people experienced, um, while sort of like learning who they were. Um, um, Again, this is a great topic to talk about too. That being said, I am trying to make it so this video um, stays on a particular topic. Either way, and you know what else I'm working to do, which is actually more important to me? Just making it so that I don't gaslight myself or shame myself into thinking that I should be anything different than I actually am. Um, Even if I do want to keep something like on a more focused set of topics, um, that mindset shift of like, hey, it's okay. Like, no one's going to beat you over the head whose opinion really matters more than your own, about how you choose to do things with your platform, Evan. um, yeah, so just learning like more and more about stuff like that. It's like, I know who you are, and you are not a prince of Egypt. It's like, what did you say? Oh man, Val Kilmer's dead too. Yeah. Um, and Val Kilmer played not only Moses in The Prince of Egypt, but also he played God, and not in the connotative way, in the denotative way. He played the character of I am that I am, which is really cool because that also, to me, serves as a metaphor for Moses basically being guided by his higher self, in the sense that Val Kilmer voiced Moses, but he also voiced God, and he was guiding Moses. And so it's just like, wait a minute, temporal self, higher self, and it's like that's the reason like why it felt so synergistic. um that's the estimation I believe. And again, it's like I say in my previous videos, if it helps you to believe it, take it. It's cool. And then if it doesn't, you don't have to take it. It's okay, because there's a bunch of other stuff all around us for you to believe that might feel better for you right now. Yeah, and it's all and just bringing it back to the now, just bringing it back to the now. And to quote FKA Twigs, shout out you Sexua, it feels nice um to spend as much time staying present in the now as you can. um hey Berlin, I'm not sure if you can see her off screen. Maybe you can see a part of her. Yeah, I can see a little bit, because again, like I have a tiny bit of direct monitoring, like the mirroring Tenson's back camera monitoring screen, like from my window. And so maybe you can actually see that my hand is actually on Berlin's processing controls. And for those who are new, Berlin is my like Yamaha DX7 synthesizer. Amazing. I absolutely adore her. She's like my favorite instrument right now. Um, okay. So yeah, the thing is that I've been learning a lot of new stuff about about music creation, and I think, and for a long time I felt as though I couldn't share that with you guys, because it was just like, oh, that's the process, or oh, that's just like, it doesn't follow the whole idea of that was painted for me about what artists were and like how they created work, because you never saw Vincent van Gogh like create the Starry Night. It's like, for all you know, like he basically started off with nothing, and then he just created that. And basically because no one saw or documented the stuff in between, the moment just before the conception of that painting, and the time when he actually completed it, most people just think, oh, it just created this motif within popular culture that the artist like goes into their cave or creative space, somehow energetically bleeds like on a canvas, and spews all of their hurt onto whatever sort of medium they have. And then from there, once they deem it to be ready in some sort of haphazard, um, decidedly indecisive way, um, um, they show it to the world. I, I, and basically everyone who doesn't identify distinctly as a creative person, or everyone who's not labeled as a distinctly creative person, growing up, they just think, oh, the sausage, it just gets made, doesn't it? And we don't really have that many role models or different things that help us to show, like, hey, this is how this thing became this, and this is where it came from. This is how I learned how to do this so that I could create this part of the song, or this part of the is anything. Like, there's not enough behind the scenes stuff going on. There's not enough stuff that shows people documenting their processes, especially for stuff that really, really excites me and entices me. Like I'll always be saying this about like the creation of Thriller and different stuff like that, because like that album is like the most inspiring piece of visual and like audio work for me ever, despite having very few like variety of visuals. Like, then again, if you count the music videos, I guess that kind of fleshes out the world well enough. But yeah, like that whole sort of body of work, and that whole sort of audio, visual, lyrical, thematic experience, it's just like it's a perfect album to me. Um, And I just resent that there's so few things and resources, even in documentaries and such, where it's just like, yo, I want to find out exactly how they did this thing. And like, shout out Anthony Marinelli too, because like he worked on 7 out of the 10. He worked on 7 out of the 9 songs on Thriller like, as I'm not sure if he was like the chief synth programmer, but either way, like this guy, he was he, that's the thing. Tony has so much different stuff to offer on stuff like that, and I've been looking into a bunch of and I've been looking to and I've been looking into a bunch of his videos, and a lot of it has been going over my head, at least at the first several runs at them. But a lot of it is actually starting to make sense now. That being said, this video is so much longer than I anticipated. This video is so much longer than I already wanted it to be. I was expecting like 2 minutes and 1 second, like, hey, I'm back. But yeah, basically, that is the main sentiment. And it's funny because this is actually a very interesting, like, exercise in eliciting a chaotic resolve in the sense that in the sense that in the sense that like sure it's like I identify as a guy, as a man, as a male predominantly, but regardless of my gender expression, I'm not here to stay passive. I'm not here to wait for something or someone to change to make me believe that I am worthy. I mean, I'm also attracting a reality where I have people in my life who actually bear the capability to mirror that sentiment back to me that I do belong here, and that the things that society indoctrinated indoctrinated us all into believing are weaknesses for me are actually my greatest strengths and different things that I can actually use to not only better the world but also to help myself to actually have a life and to enjoy life and to actually have many more moments where I feel genuinely good, as opposed to trying to feel good or feeling downright bad, down bad, down bad, crying at the gym. Everything comes out teenage petulance. Anyways, and it's interesting because again, like my relationship with profanity and censorship is also like evolving in the sense that I'm not so sure if I want to like. Well, at some point, I feel like it would be. Well, at some point, I feel like it would be just sort of like a disservice to people, to make it so they never hear the profane aspects of who I am, like ever. And so at some point, I'm pretty sure that there will be profanity and different things that I like share on record. That being said, I don't necessarily want people to think, oh, it's going to swing over to this other side, in the sense that basically I'm not looking to flip things over and just leave it at that. If I start off on one side of the pendulum swing, a good way to acquaint yourself with other parts is to swing clear over to the other side. And then from there, you'll find out, I kind of miss the tenets of the other side. And then if you continue doing that process over and over and over again, then eventually the pendulum sort of settles very near the middle. And sometimes there will be other things in your life that disturb it. And sometimes things might get a bit more profane and then other stuff like that. And I was just talking about Thriller, but also like I've been getting into a lot of different Nine Inch Nails stuff too. Like particularly Trent's albums, The Downward Spiral, and With Teeth. I think that those two albums are actually two sides of the same coin. In the sense that The Downward Spiral is a lot about trauma and it ends on a hopeful note. Um, Um, I, I, I pause because most people who interpret that album and share their interpretation don't agree with me in that sense. But I'm basing it off of how the album affected me, as well as the receipts that I can like show as the last few words of the album. If I could start again a million miles away, I would keep myself. I would find a way. Um, yeah, and it's interesting because it's like at the end of the downward spiral, it's like it like that most people sort of like project their own doubts like onto the protagonist in the downward spiral, and they're just like, okay, that might have been the time where he actually killed himself, or we don't know, but he probably did. And the whole sort of negative cognitive bias is inherent therein. Um, I'm stimming, yeah. Um, I think that it's helping me to regulate all this different energy that's running through my body. Um, but yeah, um, the thing that really helps me is understanding that I really don't have to fit into any of the formats that are laid out in front of me. And so again, there's probably going to be yet another long video. But either way, the people who have the patience to who actually listen to me in like an unedited setting, I'm sure that you're the type of person who would actually love to hear my music. And not only that, you'd probably love to hear the things that I can do and and the things that I'm learning on my journey, right? And so, with that sentiment expressed, I think that it's about time for me to say, um, I'm done waiting for other people to to tell me that I and I eh, that I and my music or my music um are like fit or worthy or suited for the rage of war, because I don't need to pack up. I don't need to go home. I already am home or at a house. Um and I'm not through, in the sense that like sure, like I've made 10 projects, 3 of which I consider albums. But that being said, like it's kind of weird to just sort of like make like 3 albums by the time you're like all before the age of 23 and then say, "Oh, I'm done." And it's like I'm it's like I'm just under a month away from turning 27 and a half now, and I'm just like, "Huh. Okay. So if that's the case, if that's really what I want it to be like, well, the thing is that honestly, I stopped not questioning whether it was actually what I wanted it to be. Um, um, and I started actually thinking to myself, hey, okay, so I don't want to be passive. I don't want to have to continually wait for the validation of other people so as to create my artistry. And so, with that sentiment expressed, I'm like, okay, so if that's the case, I don't want to have to work more to 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 generate and refine my music creation skill set to make it more consumable or palatable for people. Like the thing is that like as I recently got diagnosed with ADHD along with being autistic, so I'm officially an ADHDer. um um which is something I always suspected, but either way. Um yeah, basically. Um I'm practicing like changing the pattern of gaslighting myself in the same way that society has been taught and conditioned and indoctrinated into gaslighting me for. It's like, get to the point or whatever. Just like, no, it's like, pe- do I have to? And also, the people who are even saying that, they probably wouldn't even be interested in hearing most of the stuff I have to say anyway. And they probably don't have as long a, and they probably either have a short attention span, or they don't have this sort of like resolve or wherewithal to actually take my videos in chunks if they need to, and like listen to a little bit before they listen to the rest. 2:32 a.m. I hope y'all can hear me all right. I'm sorry. I hope y'all can hear me all right with the whole, well, like, with this particular mic setup. Because again, like, if you're not new, then you'll know that I've had this sort of mic setup for a while. But that being said, just anyways. Um, so all of that said, um, I want to let y'all in on the process, and I want to let y'all in on the ways that I create music and the different stuff that I'm learning, so that y'all can be there with me in real time. Like, in large part, so that I can have this missing piece in my creative life that I never was given, that I would like to see far more of in the world by the time I'm gone. And throwing my cowboy hat in the ring, because I got some stuff just to get off my chest. That's a song reference y'all are going to reference back in a while. Hashtag legacy is undebated. You're gonna jump if AG made it. um, there's a reason why Charlie is one of my favorite artists of the 21st century. Like, just insane. She's just, and it's also crazy, like the ties that, Vroom Vroom and Dirty Hit and PC Music like all have with each other. It's just crazy. In the whole hyper pop, Dirty Hit, Vroom Vroom sort of world, like that whole sort of thing. It's insane to just see all the different ways that it all ties in. It's actually kind of beautiful. Um, Also, Skrillex he's been like a growing inspiration for me in the sense that he finally makes a lot more sense to me as a person, as a creative, as a music teacher, basically, to me. And then also at the same time, he has his new album like F You Skrillex, like he'll never be like Andy Warhol or whatever. And it's like, and the thing is that like it's being advertised. It's like, oh, this is where, or like, this is basically like where Skrillex, or where Sonny, like aims for high art, basically. Like, this is basically like where he's like this is basically like his sort of like dark fantasy caliber type record, um which is a far cry in terms of execution and in terms of vision from, say, like Scary Monsters and Night Sprites, which which again, as a teenager, I really didn't get dubstep, and Skrillex was a cool person. The idea of Skrillex and his music was a cool thing to me, but at the same time, I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around dubstep, and I feel like it was because I he didn't yet know how to remove the blocks that were keeping me from being as vulnerable as I naturally am to sink into the authenticity of that new like art form basically. Because again, like listening to dubstep after growing up on like 80s music and like and different types of music all through the 2000s, and then hearing all the different ways that electronic instrumentation and electronic musical elements can be manipulated to create things that would literally make like most Nine Inch Nails fans, especially their earlier stuff, um um they would literally make most of them just like flip out, just like, wait, what the is this, just like um um and just like oh and just over the course of my 20s, I've just been like diving into all sorts of different types of music that are a lot more like they're pieces of art that require a lot more vulnerability and authenticity and being honest and true to yourself in order to actually take them in for what they are instead of just dismissing them as like, oh, this is trash. What and actually like taking time to understand that this is somebody's perfect interpretation of what they wanted to express in that time. And it's like if you can understand that, then you can understand exactly how someone can like absolutely hate Stevie Wonder but think that like Vince Staples or Steve Lacy or Tizo Touchdown are like people who are creating the greatest songs, the greatest albums of all time for them. In the sense that sure, Thriller is like still my favorite album, but the thing is that it doesn't mean that I'm like way over to the side to where I can't appreciate like a Skrillex or I can't appreciate a Nine Inch Nails or I can't appreciate a Tate McRae, just like there's all this different stuff to where it's like my perspective on music is expanding along with my perspective on everything. And so all this ties into the whole thing of like I don't want to be passive and secretive with my learning anymore. I want to try to bring people in on the process because again, like like I have a few dozen dollars in my bank account at the moment. I basically I basically have or I have proven to myself and to the world that I am in no condition to actually work a normal job and live a normal life. But one thing that I do know about myself and one thing that I do know how to do is to live a life that I really care about and to live a life that I genuinely feel is and to live a life that I genuinely feel is it's fit for me. Like it doesn't have to make sense to other people in order for me to actually live it. And that's the thing. I don't have that much proof of that right now, but either way, the thing is that I think that it's important like if I really want to create a life that I genuinely feel is worth living, like including attracting opportunities where I stand to receive things as opposed to just creating things like for myself to enjoy and to share with and and most probably to share with other people. um I think that there's room for both, in the sense there's a lot of different things that I'm attracting for myself to receive right now, and I sense that I sense that most of them are on their way, and the proof is really the part that's like coming soon, like soon. And then also the different and then also all the different like energetic alignment channels, like the pink full moon like was last night, and all the different astrological stuff that many people buy into, that I don't really feel as though I'm on one side or the other. I just observe things. I kind of feel like the sun and everything and all the other excuse me, Jesus, um um Yeshua, happy Palm Sunday, by the way. um um yeah, it's just interesting because um I just have a deeper understanding of everything, and I have so much understanding and so many different things to share that it's hard to actually share them in a coherent way. Um, um, that being said, my friend Jordan, about 6 years ago now, basically, as I was explaining to a couple friends of ours, he was saying, no, I was sharing with them that like I know that I talk in circles, and basically there was this perfect dynamic of our friendship at that moment, like where he said, like where he chimed in, and he's like where Jordan chimed in and he said, but they're crop circles, like trust me, they're going somewhere, because he he knows me well enough, and has spent enough time with me to know that even though I'm almost constantly delivering, I'm all but constantly delivering messages that can barely fit through my being and actually be transmitted in a way where people can understand. I'm like Mike Shinoda with the hands and the camera. Oh man, shout out to everyone I ever loved, every artist who's ever inspired me, but especially like Michael Jackson, Linkin Park, and Nine Inch Nails. Like, and it's interesting because I kind of consider them to be like the three Michaels. Like Michael's self-evident, but then of course like Mike Shinoda, Michael Kenji Shinoda, and then I call Trent the third Michael, in the sense that a lot of people don't realize that Trent is actually Trent's middle name, and his full birth name is Michael Trent Reznor. He's MTR. Interesting. It's like Titanic's Morse code, like code name. Her name was MGY. Um, like that was like the title of her radio signature. Like, with the whole Marconi setup. Also, that's very interesting. Like the idea of like electrical circuitry, like tied into radio and just different stuff like that, and just how that idea parallels things like the idea of like carrying the human voice along a wire, and things like telephony, telephones, um, um, and then how all that ties into circuitry and the idea of and the idea of like running electrical current through circuitry so as to create sound, and just how all of that stuff evolved to give rise to the synthesizer. It's beautiful. um and sharing these things with y'all actually helps me to be a whole lot more compassionate with myself, Because again, like, it's not that I, not that all the voices that are saying "get on with the point, Evan," are saying like, it's not like all those disappear whenever I feel compassion towards myself. It's more so that the battle is a bit more even, in the sense that in the sense those gaslighting voices don't like win the battle as often as they once did. As often as they once did. And that's the thing. Am like I'm gradually finding out that I am actually not a lost cause. I'm not a hopeless case, and that sure, society might have failed me in every possible way, in the sense that I can't be employed, in the sense that I live with people who don't believe in the beauty of my dreams is like enough to actually help me to bring them about in the ways that I ask them to. But that being said, I'm in a space to where I don't let those things stop me anymore. I don't let those things keep me from expressing. And again, it's not like flipping a switch. It's like turning a fader up, you know. Um, and if you can move the needle, if you can shift that fader up just a little bit more, like each time that you go about it. So like say each day, in my case, um, it just helps you a lot more. I'm getting tired. My eyes are getting droopy. Anyways, um, but yeah, I'm tired of misplacing my value and misplacing my worth, because that's the thing. As a kid, I had this intrinsic knowing that all of my value and my worth actually came from within, and that people wouldn't actually be able to actually keep me from, and to actually keep me from being who I am. Especially if they really, really tried. Like if they tried to like sew my mouth shut, I would still try to speak, or I would still fight back against that. Or that being said, most people wouldn't resort to measures that extreme. But either way, the thing is that all the different ways that people have tried to like box me in and try to use me for my love and then leave me out to cry. Shout out Lady Gaga. Mayhem is like the coolest album. Just it's so amazing. I absolutely adore that thing. It's her best work, and it's one of my favorite albums in a very long time. I think it's like a once in a decade type album. It's insane. I love it. Um, it's like I haven't felt this like connected and resonant towards like a major like mainstream album by like an artist with a lot more pop credibility since Justin Bieber dropped Purpose. Because that thing, like everyone swears by Journals as a mixtape, but I'm just like, y'all, Purpose is like game changing. It changed the way that I looked at music. And it's funny because Skrillex was a big he was a big collaborator with Justin on that one too, big producer on that one too, which ties in like, and it's interesting because like all these different invisible strings that tie us all together, it's almost like, even as far as like Recess and Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, it just like, even in those years where I like resented Skrillex for like being how he is, because of where I was and my because of where I was, and just I'm choosing to practice not judging myself for not knowing things that I couldn't know back then. um, it really it really more so matters how much our awareness helps us and serves us now that matters the most, in the sense that you had to go through all those different things just so you can understand those things that you understand now. I'm getting really, really tired, but I do want to share these things. But either way, that's the thing. I've been feeling very dysregulated, but either way, I want to. There's a lot of different things and moves that I've set in motion to make it so the universe answers my call for help, and and helps to enable me to create a better life for myself, one where I'm not actually under the thumb of society, and where I can't like make any like genuine long-term like living wage level money for myself, if like anything sort of higher than that. um um and honestly, I'd Steve Irwin the heck out of any sort of money outside of if anyone's wondering like what I would do if I were like rich, I'd Steve Irwin the heck out of that money, in the sense that I would basically use it to reinvest into to create the massive amounts and levels of change that I've always wanted to, and that I didn't really realize I needed to until I woke up to this cold reality that a lot of people are suffering, and that I didn't really know that back then. And it wasn't because I was like intentionally ignoring it. It's simply that I was ignorant of it. Like, in the sense that I didn't know that people were stuck in their heads about so many different things. Like, until they actually convinced me that it was better for me to be stuck in my head about things. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not who I am. I remember who I am now, and I'm just like, that's not who I am. I want to be as expansive as I was born to be, which is common for most autistic people to just naturally be. And so, anyways, I am very tired. I think that this will actually make a very cool like vlog to like look back at, like at any expansive time from this moment, or the time you're actually being able to see this. But either way, my gosh, there's so much difference. I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this tonight, because I would have to keep Dean on in order to upload both this video and the one I did before then, which these things are probably going to be like 90 minutes in total, because that's kind of how long I've been sitting here. But either way, I'm just glad to have my time. I'm glad to speak with you again, like to make it more personal, instead of saying y'all and you guys and they and them and all this different stuff. It's like, I'm really glad to speak with you again. Thanks for being here. I think that you're amazing. I'm going to let you in on my process, and not just with music, with all the different stuff I'm doing, because to me, I see it as energetically the same thing. And so, yeah, I really care about you. And for once, not for once, for a change, I also care a whole lot more about myself than I once did. And yeah, compassion. And there's a lot of different stuff that's just dark in the world right now, not just in the United States, but just everywhere. But so the thing is that to I just keep getting more and more this message of like, Evan, the world needs your light now more than ever. And it's just like yeah, y'all been saying that forever. It's like, Evan, we need it, please. Like, we really, really mean it. Like, to their credit, I wasn't necessarily as confident and as assured of myself back then as I am now. And so, all of that to say, um, I started a video series like a few weeks ago, like where I would just like tune in. It's gonna get good. Um it's like get your special sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good. It's gonna get good. um yeah, and I still believe that it will. It just started doing so on a different schedule than I thought it would be. That being said, there is far too much energy stuck into this motherfucker. Um, um, for it to actually turn out any like anything like less than what I've been like working every second of my time to manifest for myself and by extension for everyone else. Because that's the thing. I feel like God, the universe, source, like whatever sort of higher power or fate or whatever sort of thing you want to believe in that orchestrates every other thing, including parts of yourself. Um, I feel like it's sort of rejoicing in the sense that it understands that I understand the law of divine compensation, and that basically everything that I've sort of been kept from, like in these first several years of my adult life, all those different things, it's just like, it's, yeah, it's, those things weren't kept from me. No. Those things were kept from me as opposed to just being a complete waste of time that I could never get back. In the sense that sure, in the sense that sure, every second of time that I live is time that I won't get back per se. But that being said, basically what it means is that everything that I personally and egoically, like when you feed the ego love, it leads to self-identity, eh, which leads to self-embodiment. And when you feed the ego fear, that's what leads to things like narcissism and the different stuff that people associate with ego, that that even compels them into believing that having any sort of ego death is a better idea than just trying to be a human being. Because that's the thing. The thing is that having an ego death is basically an experiencing of like trying to force yourself to get away from yourself. But every time you go on a vacation, you and everything that you don't like about yourself eh, will actually meet you there, and they'll get there the exact same time you do. um, but yeah, I'm back, um, and I have no idea what the musical output's gonna look like. I have no idea what any of this will actually do. Um, all that I know is that um um is that in typical Easter season fashion, I'm tearing the veil, um, and I'm making a way. Um, when I said that the hiatus is done, that goes my chapel different stuff, but that's chapel with one P, not two P's and two L's, because again, that chapel's amazing. Again, there's a bunch of different stuff that I could just comment on because, like, my gosh, and it's just interesting, like, because both of us are like 98 days apart from each other in age. My being a little bit older, like late 97, very early 98, all that stuff. But yeah, it's just really, really cool. All the different stuff. And just It's just interesting because it's just like not only is the paradigm shifting on its own, like to a good extent, but also there are people like me and more like-minded people where it's like this past Grammy ceremony was actually like the 67th Grammy, like the 67th Grammy Awards was actually the first one where I felt genuinely represented by people of my age and like people around my age, in the sense that like Chapel won big and like she's only like a handful of weeks younger than me. Same thing with Dochi and um eh, and Ray got nominated and brought down the house for Best New Artist. But either way, I'm just glad that there's a bunch of different stuff that was amazing about that ceremony. But either way, trying not to make this one super duper long. It's 3:01 a.m. and also I'm just tired. I think I need to lay down. And Berlin's over here too, so I have to lift up my like nearly 40-pound favorite instrument and like place her in front of the bed so that I can lay on the so that I can lay on the bed. Um, um, yeah. Also, dissociation, trauma, DID, stuff like that. Covert DID, in the sense that y'all probably didn't pick up on the fact that I slash we have actually undergone numerous alter switches over the course of this video, in the or in ways that y'all probably weren't able to foresee. Either way, I know that this video is already longer than I'm already longer than the first part. Either way, I'm just really happy I'm really happy to be here. I'm really happy to to open the to open the doors back up, into my musical world in a way that I haven't in a very long time. And that's the thing. Who knows? I might actually start showing some like straight ups, because again, like I'm not tied to a major label, and in the future, I don't foresee myself being tied to any sort of major label that I don't make myself. Um, and so that, and then on top of that, as far as advocacy, as far as being the world changers, as far as being the change that you want to see in the world, can't nobody tell you how to do it right. Um, and moment to moment, your intuition can perfectly guide you to know what works best for you. It's like the third tenet to my key to life. You're feeling your feelings, intuition, and intuiting intuitively is your guide to know what helps. Like moment to moment. In every present moment, give it a meaning that helps you. And the meaning I assign to this very moment, I'm doing something good for a change. Thanks for sitting with me this long, and thanks for hearing me out. I think it's really really cool because most people in my life, they don't do that, and so it's very cool. Also, I'm working to build a community too, like maybe like a mixture of like stuff on my website and stuff on YouTube, like stuff with the written word and then other stuff elsewhere, and then as more capital start to get into the picture, we can start doing like newsletters or something like that, or maybe even before that. Either way, um, yeah, I'm just opening the doors back up, and the possibility, and I'm actually recognizing that the possibilities are endless, in the sense that they've always been endless. But that being said, to quote the great Poppy, the pain and all the pretty things are yours if you can bear to see it. You are the risk and the reckoning if you're brave enough to meet it. And she says, mean it. But the thing is that I think that it's cooler to actually, and maybe this is and particularly applicable because I'm a DID system. But that being said, um, if you're brave enough to meet those parts of yourself, then not only are those different bits of dichotomy, but the alters within the Evans system that hold that dichotomy, like within a singular alter, been the people who have been able to actually recognize their power as being like, oh yeah, I'm the creator and the destroyer, and I can use my power to destroy the things worth keeping, or to create more things worth keeping and destroy the things that aren't worth keeping. And many of them have actively been choosing the latter, just progressively, gradually. I am so tired. I love you. I think you're cool. And I think that I'm actually pretty cool too. Um, which wasn't always the case, which I'm sure that you're acutely aware of by the time I'm hearing this at this stage in this video, if you've been listening to the whole thing. Um, yeah. Um, I wonder when just sharing my own sentiments will actually be like, both to myself and both to you. I wonder when that, to quote Demi Lovato, I wonder when I love me slash you is enough, you know? I wonder when that's going to actually feel like enough to me. I'm back. That's what I wanted to end this video with. I'm back. Like Melanie Martinez, like in death.